We are live, guys.
Okay, so good evening, everybody. Welcome to this week's Socratic dialogue. So, before we start our Socratic dialogue, let's introduce ourselves. Hi, this is Ayush, and I will be moderator for this week's FD.
Hi, this is Suchanda. I'm the co-moderator for this SD.
And we have two teams here: Team A, narrative thinkers, and Team B, cognitive readers. So, let's start with intro of Team A.
Hi, this is Disha, and I'm a coach of Narrative Thinkers team.
Hi, this side Faiza, and I'm a participant of Narrative Thinkers.
Good evening, everyone. This is Nandini, and I am also participating as a group of narrative thinkers.
So, which team would like? Okay, cognitive readers introduce, right? Yeah. So, which team would like to go first with their pitch?
Please, everyone, introduce yourself. I think few of you are left.
Hello everyone, this side Pratik Raj and I'm from Cognitive Readers.
Hello everyone, I'm Devanjana and I'm the team member of Cognitive Leaders.
Good evening, everyone. I am Shuchintika. I am also from Team Cognitive Readers.
Okay, so I guess intros are done for all. So, which team would like to go first with the presentation?
We would like to go first.
Yeah, so before you start, please explain why you chose this name for your team.
Sure.
And
So
also
we choose.
introduce your topic and explain the thing.
All right. So we choose this name, the Narrative Thinkers, because as we all know that we all heard story, and it shows that how people think and make decision in real situation. So following a story, it helps us to understand the problems in more deeply than abstract theory. So in our presentation, we took a reference of a book which is named The Goal by Yayu Goldratt. So which demonstrate that how a simple narratives can explain a complex business idea in more effectively rather than in our textbooks. Yeah, so that's why we keep this topic, this title, that is narrative thinkers. Yeah. So operation management can often sounds very complicated, and ideas like, for example, bottlenecks and workflows, it can be hard to visualize. So, but when these concepts are explained through a story, like in this book, which happened, so it becomes more clearer because you follow here a real manager who's solving a real world problem step by step. So this makes the idea more practical and more relatable, which is more easier to understand. Moving to next slide. Yeah, so during our school years, many students ignore a topics like operation because this seems it is kind of very technical and boring. So when these ideas are presented through a story, so these real impact becomes more clearer because showing how small operations changes can save an entire business. It is really keeping a very impact on the actual purpose of it. So in this way, literature makes a subject more practical, more engageful, and it's a kind of worth paying attention to. Yeah. Over to you, Paisa.
Yeah. So good literature doesn't make you choose between enjoying a story and learning something. It usually gives both of them. So like in the book, The Goal, you see fixing one bottleneck can change everything, and it makes operations easier to understand. You stay interested because the situation feels so real. So here you're enjoying it, and you learn because the ideas appear in a simple but practical way. So here you're learning it. Over to the next slide. So jargon usually feels confusing because we only see it as a definition in a textbook. But when you see the same terms inside a story, like in the book previously mentioned, they start to make sense. You know, words like bottlenecks or system designing become clear because you watch how they create real problems and solve real solutions, and automatically you start learning those jargons. Over to the next slide. So some books don't just teach you facts, they change the way you look at problems. When a theory is shown through real situations and real consequences, it sticks in your brain for a way longer time. So even in the book, the idea of fix the main constraint first is explained, and now it completely shifts how you approach any task. They like completely reshape, and automatically you start thinking in that way without even realizing you're doing it. Over to you, Nandini.
Yeah, thanks, Faiza. Well, coming to the advantage of literature, right? The main thing I believe is it shows how a person is thinking in when it comes to a problem, and not just focusing on the final answer. And once a person, like, we understand how the thinking process actually work, we can use it anywhere. So as the book we were referring to, we observe something similar, that how the main constraint, the main problem is just not limited to factories. Even in our work we can apply it to, let's say, time management, or projects, or even everyday decisions, right? So stories or literature is making problem solving very flexible. Moving to the next slide. Yes. So learning that literature is a great for learning because it helps in decision making. Why? Because we're learning the full process and not just limited to the final answer. So in the goal, as we have seen, that the manager is identifying the real issue, they are trying to try the different solutions and checking what's changing. So it's a step by step process, and then it is making us easier to understand if there's a bottleneck, and it's easy to understand and to remember. So it is very practical in nature, we can implement it in our work because we're seeing how it is happening. So coming to conclude, that's why narrative thinking matters, right? Because it's just not telling us what to do, it's showing you how to think. And once you learn to think through stories, through literature, every complex idea is becoming, so sorry about that, becoming more practical and usable. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Team Narrative Thinkers. Now the question box is open for cognitive readers.
Thank you, Suchanda ji. So, very first thing I want to point out, when the Nandini ji was reading about the conclusion, the slide didn't change. The slide was not the conclusion one. The slide was, I said, the learning as a process teacher, something like that. The slide didn't change. Okay, there was a
I think we
uh,
don't have a slide for conclusion. It's just wrapping up the whole presentation, the point we are trying to make.
isn't so? I think there was a slide provided to you,
Yes,
if I'm
but
not wrong.
I think it's the QFD slide. QFD slides are not generally used in all the presentation we're making. Anyway, we can move to the questions related to the presentation anyway.
Please
Okay,
move toward the
so
question. Yeah.
yeah, sure. So, who wrote the book, The Goal? The author.
Yeah, you go it is the author of a book.
Okay, and why this only book, not the other book like the How to Win Friends and Influence? And there are many other books. Why only this book?
Why not this book? We showed you the reference we used in the narrative thinking, right? So pick one book to relate with.
Sorry, I didn't heard that.
Nandini, can you please briefly describe what you meant?
I mean, the question was why not how to influence, like how to win friends and influence people, and why this book. I believe in the presentation we showed the connection of the story, right, and how we can implement this in our workflows. That is why we chose the book. So yeah.
Yeah,
Just to
adding to
Okay, I
that,
will request both of the teams, please stay on the topic. The questions are mostly out of the topic, so please stay on the top. Yeah, carry on, Disha.
yeah, so I was telling, just to add on to that, I think this book teaches in a story like manner. Even difficult concepts are very easily understood because it is explained in a story like manner. And me personally, reading that book, I felt like it would be a very good choice to include this book in our presentation.
Yeah, and adding to that, in this book, we learn the concepts like operation management and theory of constraint, that is called TOC. So, in our project, also in Deep Thought, we do use these kinds of concept and By using it, we executed our whole PDGMS, our this daily reports, weekly reports, these whole processes, this systems. So yeah, that is a one reason why we chose it.
Yeah, satisfied with your answers.
Okay, is there any follow-up questions from your end? Pratik? Okay, who wants to go next? Like, next question.
Yeah, I want to ask there I one slide was mentioned some mental model reshaping the mental model. Can you briefly describe what you want to mean?
Yeah, sure. So, here the mental model is used, theory of constraints. So that basically what it means is reducing that, I mean, removing that one thing that is taking up your most of your time or maybe creating problems. And that is a mental model. And once we learn that in a story like manner, what happens is slowly we try to adopt it. I mean, you're automatically, whenever you're solving a problem, you're in your project, you're looking at that one problem that is, without even realizing that you're doing it, you do that just because you've read it and you've understood, okay, how is it helping? That is what it meant.
People, I appreciate your questions and answers, but since our topic for today's FD is literature, so please try to stick around that topic only.
Okay, who wants to go next?
Yeah, I have one question. That can you please explain or enlighten the fact that how stories can teach logic or discipline? I mean, is there any way that it can help us with that?
I can answer that. Mainly in terms of, let's say, you are reading a novel, right? And it's showing you a character journey. And sometimes when we are going through the whole process, we see what it doesn't mean that a character have to do everything morally right, but we understand that what kind of, even if they're doing making a decision wrong or if they're getting struggling into something, our brain has that capacity to identify that what to learn and what not to learn from it. So literature is a form which can be used there. So it helps us to identify how to, like, even learning from their good things and even learning from their mishappenings. So that's how literature helps us.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Any follow-up question?
Yes, I have a follow-up question. Suppose if there is a lazy person, how can he evaluate himself so that he can become productive through the help of literature?
Seeing the consequences of it, I believe. I mean, if you are, let's say, the old like fable, right, of the grasshopper and the ant. Like the ant worked hard and the grasshopper was dancing all summers, and we see how the what the consequence the grasshopper suffered. So, especially in younger age, when we see this kind of moral stories, we so sorry. Yeah. So when we see the stories, it ingrains our brain what to learn, what not to learn. So yes, prime example can be that. You can see what can happen.
Okay. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Any follow-up
Yeah.
question?
Yeah, I have one connecting to the Nandini's answer. I just want to ask, is are you recommending any particular genre for this, or every genre can give some moral ideas or give some things that we can relate to our personal thinkings? So, how do you suggest, literatures, every genre can suggest this?
I believe personally it depends on the reader's level of reading, right? Like if you give a heavy literature to a child, he or she will take some time to maybe they are not able to understand the level of it. So depends on level, but after someone who is a worthy reader who has explored a lot of books and let's assume they are mentally sound and doing everything like not in a bad state of mind, any sort of literature will give them open make them open to ideas. They will be willing to explore options. So yes, a flexible mind is giving. Even it helps, I guess, reading a lot of literature helps you explore a lot of opinions. So yeah.
Does that answer your question? Any follow-up
Yes,
question?
definitely.
Yes, I have a follow-up question. Literature includes a lot of things like videos, podcasts, and books. So how can we differentiate that what type of movies are the literature and what type of movies are for the only for entertainment?
I think I'd say any movie, any book, any podcast, or whatever you're reading or whatever you're seeing, if it somehow changes the way you're thinking without even you realizing it, can be considered as literature.
In that sense, I watch a horror movie and I realize that someone is standing behind me. Does that make sense?
No, no. You see a horror movie, you understand that you do not go to a house which is completely barren for so many years. You don't go into it. That's what you learn from it. That is how it changed the way you're thinking, right? So even that is a
Mm.
literature. That is a form of literature because you're realizing something and automatically it's getting in your brain.
Okay,
I
does
have a
it?
follow-up question, but it will definitely deviate from the topic, so I will not ask. Thank you. I got satisfied with her answers.
Pratik, I would like to add that what she meant was like documentaries or other literature which helps in positive way, like growing in career, personal life, or other things, not in terms of entertainment related content. That's what she meant.
Right.
Yeah,
And
I
adding
got
to
that.
that, in the literature, those categories of things can come which can convey the story. For example, novels, short stories, fictions, biography. So these are the conveying some kind of narrative and characters or situation. But when it comes to like for example textbooks or research papers or some formulas, so these things are kind of giving you facts or some rules. So this is not conveying the stories. So yeah.
So adding on to that, there's a section called academic literature. So I believe, even I guess, I'm not sure, but newsletters or something that affects our uh, mood or our thinking, right? Our cognition. That would be considered as a literature piece, not just pure facts or information, but something that influences our brain to think, something that makes you think. So yeah, it's a vast field of like many things can be considered as pieces of literature.
Okay. Is there any follow-up questions? Okay, so we can now shift to the next team. I think cognitive leader, they can start their presentation.
Thank you, Suchandaji. This side Pratik Raj, and I'm the coach of the Cognitive Readers. Why we choose Cognitive Readers as our team name? Because like it blends thoughtful reasoning with the that power of literature. It usually suggests a team that reads to understand the behavioral patterns and sharpen the judgment, and will improve your decisions. And you know what? Reading becomes a definitive tool to train your mind, not just to gather only that information, so that we can choose how to behave and how to react on certain decisions. So basically, I'm going to share my screen so that we can pitch about my team. Yeah. So if I talk about the summary of my pitch, like it will show you how stories can be complicated ideas easier to understand. And if I talk about the literature, literature doesn't just entertain us. It will usually teaches us, no matter what the genre is. If you know how to get the idea from that genre, you will definitely get the idea. And by following those characters from those literatures and the patterns, we're trying to learn to see the decisions more clearly, and will handle the problems, all the problems, with a better judgment and the awareness. And I would like to go to the Debanjana ji. So Debanjana ji, here is your slide.
Thank you, Pratik. So, I would like to first start with that literature makes difficult operations easier to understand. Like when processes feel complicated or technical, a story can turn them into something human or like relatable. Through characters, their choices, we see their decisions are made and what consequences to follow. Next slide, please. Yeah, so stories help us notice what usually stays invisible. Like in real operations, a lot happens behind the scenes. The tiny roles, small decisions, hidden connections. So, in the same way, literature brings these quiet functions into the spotlight. It helps us to see how every background action supports the bigger system altogether. Next slide, please, Pratik. Thank you. So now coming to the third slice, stories make learning interesting without losing its meaning. We stay engaged because narratives spark emotion and curiosity. They pull us in, but at the same time, they teach us the logic, structure, and discipline in a way that doesn't feel heavy or boring. Now over to Suchantika.
Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so coming to the jargon and understanding, so I just want to connect this with some business case study. Like this can be treated as literatures, so we understand the thing better. Like if we are talking about jargons, so if I am telling like customer obsession or design thinking, so these terms are heavily technical. So or in Apple, what happens? The team doesn't think about this, or they learn from the textbook. So what they do, say, experience this by making their product, by taking the customer references and their connections, so that they can implement the things. So connecting with the customers with the literature is the main thing here. Next slide, please. Here is the like there are we can shape our perspectives with different things. Like I can tell about the SpaceX example. So they challenge the belief that rocket must be expendable, so it cannot be reused. So they heated the thing, so they made the changes, and now the rocket is reusable. So here we can see one perspective is changed, so which cannot be reusable. Now SpaceX made this happen, so rockets are usable now. Next slide, please. And the here we can see actually a single idea can be implemented in a different way and in different tasks. Like it is not limited to a single consequences in a single context. Like if I am telling about a hub and spoke model, this model is actually it is a literature view. We can see it is in our paper, but actually if we go to the industry, we can see different industries has actually developed this concept. Like it can be airlines, it can be
Hi,
e-commerce.
Suchantika. Please, sorry to interrupt. Please try
Hmm.
to wrap your pitch
Yeah,
faster
it
so
is
that we
done
have time for
actually.
Socratic
Okay,
dialogue.
okay, okay. So, which can be actually implemented in different industry in different ways. So it is not limited into one single page. Over to Pratik.
Thank you, Suchantika ji. So if I talk about the stories don't just entertain us, they quietly teach us how to think. Stories arc often follows the same steps as we use to analyze the problems. And if I talk about the characters face constraints, adapt through the feedback, and correct their course. By engaging both the emotional and the thought, literature helps us to observe the decision-making processes in a way that the feels natural and memorable. If I talk about the conclusion part, so when we really think about it, literature gives us much more than the stories. It shows us how people make choices and adjust when the things go wrong, and learn all along the way. By observing those characters, we and their situations, we learn to pause, spot the patterns, and make calmer and the clear decisions in our daily lives. Thank you.
Thank you so much, team cognitive readers. Now the question box is open for narrative thinkers. Who wants to go first?
Yeah, I would like to go first. So, how does stories can make a complex operation easier to understand?
It really to first of all we have to think about what type of stories we are having. First of all, to think about what the problem, complex problem we are facing right now, and then think about the books, about the genre. For example, it's a practical thinking, the psychological problem. We have to go for the psychological book or psychological stories or the literature. If I talk about the things about the mechanical problems, so mechanical complex problems, we have to go for the mechanical books or mechanical literature. You can say the podcast or you can say the movies and all. So first think about that what type of problem we are facing, what type of problem you are facing. Then try to find out that is there any literature in over the internet or over at any library which talks about that solution of those problems, then go for it.
I would want to add few more points. Like stories help us to understand the practical experience, how a person or a system has undergone through the exact scenario in terms of the experience, the practicality. So when we provide the presentation in terms of a story, it does connect all the dots so that is help other person to understand. Thus stories help people to understand better without making them burn out or feeling that very boring or some sort of things.
Okay, understood.
How does literature help with jargons?
I mean, what? Can you just clarify the question?
How does literature help with jargons?
Okay, so here the thing is, whenever we are reading something, we can connect the ideas. We can actually connect the story behind it. So whenever I am telling that this is a system design, it looks hard and it hears like what I am telling, what I am hearing. It it is understand. It is not that much understandable. But if I tell someone like the system design is making the graph, like how will you work, or if I have some story I have read, like she did something in the way, so it will I can connect the things more easily. It is like we can actually think of it, we can imagine the things. So the jargon we cannot imagine, but story we can. So that is why it is helping.
Does that answer your question?
It does. I have a follow-up question. So, why do people remember stories better than textbook content? What is the reason behind it?
Okay, here is the funniest part, because in textbook you are just reading it because of you have to have some, you have to give some exams or anything, so you are memorizing it for some, so for something. But whenever you are reading something out of your interest, so you are not bounded with, you have to get some good marks or something, grades. So you are free to explore, so you are getting those ideas from out of your interest, so that's why it is stay better in your memory.
Mhm.
Yeah. On a similar note, what Cynthia mentioned, it does help us to understand how it has been done, not what actually is being done. What our textbook does cover, that it provides some sort of principles, theories that provide us the idea of what is done. And in stories, we can actually see the emotion behind it, the process, and how the overall system has been completed.
Also, we connect the characters there in stories.
I have a question. Uh, for example, you said that the valid points that how literature is making it jargonless, also making it very simple, right? So why can't we just make the content simple from the very start? Why do we need a example of a story or something literature? We can just keep it simple. We just can keep the things understandable, and then people I can work. Why literature?
Yeah, this is because in our textbook, which we learn in schools and colleges, they only provide us the textbooks that have the jargons, but not the storybooks, which actually implemented those ideas in terms of some characters or stories. So there we have to know the formal things, like how it will be in that context. But beside the thing, we can actually connect with some other ideas. Maybe it can be some other literature or storybooks or other things. We can connect the emotions behind it, but also we have to know the actual terms of the things. So that is both are important, like you are learning it from your textbook, the complex way, and also the simplest way, you are learning it from the stories and literatures, so that you can connect both.
Okay, assuming that if let's assume there are no jargons in the textbook, it's very simple to understand, anyone can read it. And is emotion the only way to, go forward because making the connection with the content is the only relevant part?
But there is one problem is particularly if you are just making the stories over the things, like if you are just telling the stories to the person who are reading the books, So you are actually not letting him or her to know what are the actual terms which are there in our real world. So you have to convey the actual terms, the jargons also, but also they are not mentioning the thing. So the idea is you can connect the jargons with literatures so that both can connect with the same way, because they have to know the both.
Got it. That makes-
Okay, is there any more question? Okay, if there are no question, then we can wrap up this session. But before that, we want thank you for the presentation, and we want few reflection from you all. So, who wants to go first?
Yeah, I would like to go first. So the first thing which I've learned, that story can train our mind to make a better decision, because what I observed, that literature can help us to learn how to think, not just like what to think, but also it help us to think about like how we can simplify the complex situations, or like ideas into more easy way with the help of relatable stories. And because what happened, that people understand the things more faster when they see situation. So yeah, by this today's ST, I able to know that with the with the help of examples and analogies, how we can like simplify those abstract concept into the simple in a concrete way.
Thank you, Disha, for your reflection. Who wants to go next?
Yeah, I would like to go next. I think one of the most important part, I believe, which come out of literature is it touches our emotions, right? It touches our cognition, something that separates us from other robots or other AI models. So whenever we make a connection with our emotions and tune with our work, so we will tend to perform better. So that would be my takeaway from this whole session.
Thank you so much,